Yo, this your boy EC22. Let me ask you a question. Are you a fair weather fan? You probably are, but you don't really know it. So if you're wondering what a fair weather fan is, let me give you some hints just so you can understand if you are a fair weather fan or not. Number one, if you participate in legalized gambling, guess what? Or legalized sports gambling, guess what? You are a fair weather fan. If you root for a team in the Super Bowl and there's not your team playing, yes, you guessed it. You are a fair weather fan. If your spouse in the household that you live in does not have the same team as yours, except that, bro, you are a fair weather fan. With that being said, let's get it. Yo, this your boy EC22 of the Fair Weather Fan channel, and we are in for another podcast, man. Yo, listen, I got your favorite Philly fan in the house, Maximus Bazard. He just went by Simply Philly. And yo, I got a special guest in the house, none other from the host and the creator of Faith Talk Radio, all the way from Dallas, man. We got your boy Professor in the house. What's up, Lou?
What's good? What's good, man? What's good? What's good?
Hey, man, here we go. You got Faith Talk Radio and you got a Fair Weather Fan, man, collab going on today, man. This is awesome, exciting, man. I'm just glad for what we got going on right now. Yo, Max, what's been up, bro?
Man, I can't stop laughing at your intro before this video started, bro. you opened my eyes to some stuff, man.
Yeah. Everybody been like, oh, fair weather fan, you're a bandwagon rider, or you don't have no dedication. I'm like, no. If you think about it, a lot of us are fair weather fans, whether we admit it or not, right? How did you like seeing your Eagles fly through the Super Bowl? That was that commercial, the Seahawks, the Ravens, and the Eagles. Boy, that was hilarious.
We made it to a Super Bowl. That's all I can say.
I was asking myself, why the Cardinals wasn't up there, but I guess because the Cardinals didn't win a Super Bowl, because all those other bird teams won Super Bowls and the Cardinals didn't. So I'm figuring that's why they didn't have them up there. But maybe so. Lou, what's been going on with you, bro?
Hey, man, it's all good. Watched that good old Super Bowl 50. Was that 53? I think LV
58.
58.
Yeah.
L is 50, V is 5 and 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. But yeah, it's all good, man. Good to be on your show for the first time. And I got that message from him. I'm like, man, I need to hop on with him. I know he's gonna be talking about some stuff I'm not talking about my own show. So it's good to be
Yeah. Man, appreciate it, man. Let's dive on into it. Hey, this Super Bowl broke records. Last year broke a record. This year we broke a record again, over 123.7 million viewers. That's up 7% from last year. Now, is this the Taylor Swift effect starting with Max?
No. Honestly, back before Super Bowl 51, 52, it didn't really have all these platforms where you can stream the game as you have now. Last year and then this year, you will be able to stream the game through a third party, as in Paramount Plus or Peacock or whatever, Amazon Prime. So now you get to have people that aren't able to see it in their house. They can just turn it on their phone and be on the go and watch the game, and that counts as a view.
So we had that same thing last year. So Lou, what made this Super Bowl that special to where we got up 7% in viewers if it wasn't Taylor Swift? Or do you think it was Taylor Swift?
Well, I kind of think it has, and I have dogs in the background. Sorry about that. But I think it is slightly the Taylor Swift effect, and I'll explain why. Prior to her relationship with Travis Kelce, we all knew who Taylor Swift was. I've gotten to know her. I ain't gonna lie, because I really didn't know about Taylor Swift. But basically, just her alone, she carries a crowd. And then you connect with Travis Kelce, whom we all know. And now you got that as a couple. The NFL thrived on that. And, I hear people say, well, the game is rigged. They wanted Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl for the ratings, for the viewership and all that stuff there. So when you brought up that number about how many viewers was that?
123.7.
which is more than 7% from the previous year.
Yeah, it's up 7%. I think it was like 115 million, something like that last year.
I heard what Max said, and I tend to agree with that. But I think Taylor Swift has some type of influence in viewership, in which she had people that normally don't look at football tune into the game, knowing that at some point the NFL is going to zoom into her in the press box, zoom into her after the game. She kissing Travis Kelce
Right.
and all the stuff. So I think alone, when you put that piece in there, I think she has some piece of that, the number of people that tune in. And I'm talking about people that normally don't look at football. I'm talking about those people that they call Swifties. Those Swifties tune in.
Right.
And then you combine that with the Pat Mahomes effect, the fact you got the Chiefs and the 49ers, and you probably had more people tune in as the game went on to the third and fourth quarter. And then they kept zooming in to Taylor Swift every time something happened on the field as it relates to Travis Kelce.
Right.
Taylor Swift and the homegirls that was around her. We saw Taylor Swift chugging her beer and all this stuff. I'm like, you know what? That's a lot of Swifties going on in here. And I guarantee you, her Swifties had a lot to do with that number.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. This is a Taylor Swift effect. Now, to Max's point, is like, yeah, we are able to view the Super Bowl on multiple streaming platforms and stuff like that, and that's been that way. I mean, they upped it a little bit with adding Paramount Plus this time around, which wasn't there last year. So yeah, I get the ideal of that because you have more outlets to watch Super Bowl. People are watching it, but I think adding those other platforms is a direct effect of why it was a viewership because of Taylor Swift. Because the average Taylor Swift fan may not have ESPN and stuff like that. They may not be wanting to watch it on their local networks and stuff like that. But opening it up to some of the other streaming platforms was definitely the effect. Now, the one they didn't air it on was TaylorSwift.com. If it was on TaylorSwift.com, who knows? We probably been at 150. Say, because for those people. Lou, Mike Zimmer. I would ask Mac this question, but he don't like the Cowboys, so therefore it don't apply to him. The next question is Mike Zimmer, Dallas' new defensive coordinator. What are your thoughts?
My initial thoughts were reminiscent of what he did between the mid to late 90s up until 2007 before he went on. I think you'll have a coach that has zero tolerance for silly penalties. I think he's more structured in his own way, nothing against Dan Quinn, but I think you will get a lot more obedience from the defensive unit, dealing with Mike Zimmer. Hey, let's face it, from 93 to 2007, he had been with the Cowboys organization, starting as a defensive backs coach up into and including DC, or defensive coordinator, for 15 years before he finally went on to newer ventures. And, a lot of people, kind of laughed about the fact he's 67. Okay, we get it. But I guarantee you had a lot of people, including Rex Ryan, you had Mike Zimmer, you had probably others, who wouldn't want to coach Micah Parsons? Who wouldn't want to coach Trey Lance? So I kind of figured that we was going to probably get someone in here that was celebrated, that has a history of running the defense. The only thing is we're going to have to go back to the 4-3 because Mike Zimmer is a 4-3 dude. So you just might see Michael Parsons as a defensive end a lot in that scheme. But in my opinion, I think it was a solid pick. I'm not crazy about it. We're shifting to the young offensive coordinators. We're shifting to the young defensive coordinators. The league is just getting younger. Even in the coaching carousel, they're getting younger. But when you got someone that had been out of football for a good portion of a year and a half, that literally called the Cowboys and said, I want to apply for this position. Now he has a head coaching experience upon his belt on this agenda, and he bringing all that to Dallas as a defensive coordinator. So I think this is pretty solid. I think the only thing that we have to key in on is, of course, it's going to be a defensive scheme that the Cowboys had not gotten used to. Now I can't remember the last time we ran a 4-3. But yeah, I think that would be, in a sense, a great thing for the Cowboys that they got experience at that position. They kept experience at that position. I think Mike Zimmer will be pretty good. I don't have any issue with it, to be honest with you. I really don't. But I like the move.
I no, the move surprised me for one, because when they first announced it, there was a lot of noise out there whether they should get him or not. So I kind of kept my peace on it. I didn't care one way or the other, but uh, a little different that I would have wanted someone a little younger. I know that's weird to say, but I was kind of expecting someone a little younger. But I don't know why. I was hoping that if he didn't find a head coaching job, that he would just leave Minnesota and come over here, and that's when Brian Flores. But that just me tripping, right? I think the guy's good. Just so you know, Rex Ryan, we don't like that guy on this show. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just playing Rex.
And as far as I was gonna say, as far as Rex Ryan, I thought about his brother Rob Ryan, who had been with the Cowboys, and they have a flamboyant way of running the defense. Rob Ryan always had the exotic blitzes. Sometimes it was for the good, but the most part it burnt them, and we ended up getting
absolutely
bumped out on those on that type of defense. I wasn't too crazy about Rex. I'm not gonna lie, when I heard his name, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want him here or not. Nothing against Rex, but he'll had his moments, and I think he's good where he's at, which is being an analyst for Get Up with Mike Greenberg. But yeah, I would pick Zimmer over Rex Ryan, and also to your point about the younger defensive coordinator, I wouldn't have had a problem with that either. I think because when you look at the Cowboys defense, I think the average age of that defense is just 27, 26 and a half, 27. So, I mean, either way, I just want someone in here that was not going to be a rookie. Now, Al Harris' name came up, but from what I heard, he wasn't a really good X's and O's dude. And but when I heard that, and I'm like, and then you kind of saw the coaching, the defensive coordinator names that came up. Al Harris's name only came up because Trayvon Diggs went on Twitter and vouched for Al Harris, but it looked like the Jones fan wasn't even going that route. So
right.
I just wanted someone in here that knew what they were doing. Yeah, he's 6'7". The experience is there. He's been there and done that. He'd have been around the way and back, and now he's back here. So, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, Max, let me come to you real quick. This kind of off the sheet, but to Lou's point, you talking about Trayvon Diggs giving his 2 cents, and we've been seeing a lot of players giving their 2 cents. A lot of the families of the players giving their 2 cents. What do you have to say about everybody giving their opinions about said organization? Whether it be somebody's brother, like Trayvon Diggs talking about Stephon Diggs, whether he should leave Buffalo, or whether Michael Parsons' brother or mother, whoever these people are, everybody got an opinion. What do you think about those people?
Keep your family on the sideline. Do not let them mess with your money. Because right now, all they're seeing is if you're unhappy in the organization, your family is going to be doing the talking for you, and you don't want someone else talking for you. Because everything they do and say is going to come back to you, and it's going to make you look bad in the end. I'll just say, just keep them out. Keep them in check, man.
Now, here's a funny situation. Before we leave the Super Bowl, what are your thoughts, Max, about the overall Super Bowl? Just watching it. Did you watch it in its entirety, for one? Because I know you didn't want to watch it at all. Did you watch it at all?
Yes, I did.
You watched it. So what is just your overall thoughts of the Super Bowl, just in its entirety? Was it good, bad, and different?
It started out real slow for me. It was kind of real painful to watch the first half. And it went on to the third quarter, and it was kind of painful to watch it. But once that fourth quarter hit, it was like it just happened so fast, you blink, you miss it type of deal, because everything was just going in full circle until overtime.
Yeah. Hey, Lou, Same question.
So you're dealing with two defensive coordinators. You got Steve Wilkes with the 49ers, and I can't think of the
Yeah.
dude for the Chiefs, the defensive coordinator. But he's been around the game. You got two defensive coordinators that came in with plans. It worked. And while it worked, you had Andy Reid and Shanahan trying to figure out how to finagle through what's going on the
Yeah.
field on both ends. And I think when they finally figured it out, they figured out the flow. You know, Shanahan's like, okay, that's what they're doing. Wilkes is like, okay. I mean, Andy Reid, that's what they're doing. Okay, that's why we have halftime adjustments. When they made those adjustments, like Max alluded to, boom, you start seeing the offense on both ends starting to click. But it took a minute. I think you had two defensive minded coaches who were wonderful. And, you know, Mahomes wasn't great in the first half. You know, he threw that pick.
Mhm.
He got sacked. He got chased. And, you know, Brock Purdy, you know, they got after him. The Chiefs defensive unit did. And Chris Jones was just all over the place.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of people like, man, this is boring, you know. And me with the football mind, I'm up there like, man, we got a defensive battle. And the coach was telling me, because I was at his house watching the Super Bowl, he was like, man, I did not expect a low-scoring first quarter, low-scoring second quarter. But I think when the halftime adjustments came, and you know how long halftime was, they gave both Shanahan and Andy Reid time to kind of finagle through with the adjustments. And as soon as the third quarter started, boom, everything just started clicking offensively for both teams. But I really didn't have an issue with how it started. And I know a lot of people was going to say that basically because they want fireworks from both San Francisco's offense and the Chiefs' offense.
Right.
And it may not always be that way sometimes. And that's in large part because you had two different defensive coordinators who know what they were doing. And they knew that their game plan was going to work, but for how long, we wouldn't know. But third quarter came, it was different.
I'm going to tell you something, y'all. I love this Super Bowl. I loved it for the low-scoring game that it was, because you talking about you can have a Super Bowl to where you're up screaming the whole time and you leave the house or wherever you at hoarse because your team is scoring or whatever, and I get all that. But this one right here, I think a lot of folks had diarrhea. I mean, if you were up there just perked up the whole game, you didn't know which way it was going. You nervous when they kept getting shots of the fans, people biting their nails. I don't think there was anybody had nails left in the stadium because it was just that much of a nail biter. And you leave it on the field. And just like Lou said, the defense came out with a plan, because you're talking about, especially for Kansas City, you can't not underestimate the offensive weapons that the 49ers had. And as well as the 49ers, you cannot underestimate the magicianness of Patrick Mahomes and what he can do on the field and the craftiness of Andy Reid. So both teams decided, you know what, we're going to sell out on our defense. And what San Francisco was able to do, they start going to guys who haven't seen all season long. And then who wins the Super Bowl for them, for Kansas City? You know, say number 11, guy you haven't seen all season long, you know, because they went out there and they opened up the playbook and they said, we're not going to sit around and force the ball to Travis Kelce. We're not going to sit around and try to put the hands in Christian McCaffrey, let him run all over. We got to give it to other people, and it worked. You know, of course, 49ers scored on a little trick play, a little reverse. If San Francisco would have won, obviously number 15 would have been MVP because he was all over the place. A touchdown catch, a touchdown thrown. I mean, they was doing everything they can to get that team going. And you know, it came down to where it's supposed to come down to. Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hand, and it was all on him to win or lose. I love it. With that same question in mind, Max, just your quick thoughts on the overall 2023-24 football season, NFL season.
I know everyone's saying it has been scripted. It hasn't, man. It's hard to predict the game. Everyone expected a high-scoring game. Everyone
I'm talking about the whole season. The whole season.
The whole season? Well,
the whole season, the whole NFL season. What are your thoughts on the whole NFL season?
It was a carousel, man. It was too unpredictable. No, we did not get what we always get every season. Everything kept on shuffling nonstop. early in their season, it looked like 3 teams would make it to the playoffs from the AFC North. 2 weeks later, we were like, man, it might just be one team. Towards the end of the season, all 3 made it into the playoffs. So
All
it was
four
just a
made it. But
crazy off.
did all four make it? No, Cincinnati
No,
didn't make it. Yeah, yeah, that's right. 3 of
all
them made
3
it in.
made
Yeah,
it in, and then
yeah,
you had Joe Flacco coming back, which no one even saw coming. He came
right.
back. No one expected Kirk Cousins to get injured right away, and then Justin Jefferson is just there now. So it was just a crazy offseason, man.
Yeah, Lou, what do you think about this football season compared to others you've seen?
The one word that comes to mind is the word parity. And I use parity because it seemed like every football season you have a different story. This season, the story was obviously the Detroit Lions, who basically Dan Campbell got them boys playing. You know, they reached a level they haven't seen since 1992 when you had Barry Sanders, Eric Kramer, Herman Moore, Coach Wayne Fonts. I mean, come on, you know, I pulling for the Detroit Lions. I find myself doing that because I'm like, man, we got somebody new in the picture
Right,
actually.
right.
And I saw how far Detroit went. I'm like, okay, this is nice. You know, I had no issue
Yeah.
with it. But then I think this season kind of reminded you of who the real MVP was. I know it was Lamar Jackson. The MVP, and correct me if I'm wrong, is based upon the regular season. But we all saw what happened in the Super Bowl. And Pat Mahomes is reminding us, you stay healthy, you stay focused through the off season. And you heard his exit interviews after Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He'll spend his little, you know, fun time with his family just for a short while, but he's getting right back in the lab. He ain't wasting no time. They want a three-peat. That's going to be the storyline next season.
I know, right?
Can you really see a team three-peating? I know the Cowboys came real close to doing that. As a matter of fact, they came real close to winning 4 Super Bowls in a row, but it was 3 or 4. But Kelsey, Andy Reid, they came back and say, hey, we're coming back next year. Kelsey is like, I want that three-peat. I don't think I've seen that since I've been on this earth. I know that has happened back in the 40s and way in the AFL days.
Yeah. Back in those black and white days, yeah.
And then what Max was alluding to, the Cleveland Browns, you know, they always been a franchise that just could not get it together and had not been getting it together since the Bernie Kosar days. Ever since then, they have not been a good football team for the better portion of 3 decades. Now you see them starting to be of relevance. Even with Deshaun Watson now, here comes Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco was sitting at the crib, and they called him up. He's a squad, and look how far he took them, you know.
Right.
And then I know I'm missing something here. The New York Jets. I mean, we bring Aaron Rodgers into Broadway for him to have a torn Achilles. We all know he's back. There's always an interest in next season. Okay, if we get a healthy Aaron Rodgers, how does the Jets offense look like? You know, so I keep thinking parity. Parity is basically this season happened. Yeah, Kansas City repeated, but they struggled this season. They were 15th. They were 15th this season in offense and still won the Super Bowl. Obviously, when you have Pat Mahomes back there, and I kept telling y'all, when Mahomes is in the playoffs, you can't ever discount him out, and he proved that again. They were 15th in offense. They were mid-range, kind of like 19th in defense, and yet they still got a Super Bowl title. So I would say this season was all about parity. And then, of course, you had the Dallas Cowboys. It's like a tape recorder with them. It's like they will hype you up. We got this going on, but nothing changes. It's the same story. We may see a different story this season. I don't know, but I just keep thinking parity. That's
it's
where
so crazy because when you
mm-hmm.
say parity, it's like all the different storylines, right? We get open up the season, we get the hype of the rookies, right? With the Anthony Richards, Bryce Youngs, and then CJ Stroud. Obviously, all the attention going to Bryce Young. And then the Bijan Robinson, trying to see what he's going to do. The Lions picking Jahmyr Gibbs to see what he was going to do, right? All that hype around them. Then, of course, the Aaron Rodgers, how it's going to look over in the New York Jets. He goes out. Then what's the storyline going to be behind Zach Wilson? And then you turn around midseason, you get Joshua Dobbs get a little 2 week of fame. And then later on in the season, you get Tommy DeVito getting a little week of fame. The issues surrounding the Eagles and stuff like that, how they were the hottest team in NFL. They didn't watch them fall for grace. The Cowboys was in and up and in and out in everybody's hearts, to where at one point Dak was the front runner for MVP. And then 2 weeks later, he was completely sitting on the couch just that quick, it was just amazing. Even Tyler Badgett got a little notoriety. Of course, you bring in Joe Flacco, you bring in Mason Rudolph. All these people were just creating different storylines throughout the season, and you didn't know which way the season was going until the end, because you could have told us at week 16 that the Baltimore Ravens were going to win it all, and then it just didn't happen that way, because at that point they were trashing the Kansas City Chiefs, and here we get the 49ers and Chiefs, and then boom, a repeat of last year. That's so crazy with the season. That's why I loved it. You mentioned the Detroit Lions. I don't know what this is and why this is, but they decided to go out there and sign a Canadian football defensive lineman. What is his name? Matthew Betts. They signed him as a reserve and maybe a future contract or whatever. Coming from the Canadian Football League over to the NFL, first of all, will he start, and is he prepared for this league? I don't know anything about him, but I'm just looking at the league he came from.
Well, obviously, when you look at the makeup of Dan Campbell's throwing everything on the table. We already know his coaching style. We already saw how he coached in tight situations where he's getting the mindset that Detroit had for all these years. He's getting that out of their system. You know how many? They led the NFL in fourth down tries and fourth down conversions. He rolls the dice. We saw that in the playoffs. It kind of came back and bit him a little bit. I think that's a mindset thing, and he doesn't mind looking bad for his own team because he's trying to get an attitude with them. So with when you saw that signing, it's like, okay, this dude came from the Canadian Football League. What's the thinking here? But I had to remind myself of who Dan Campbell is. This dude came and he just like, it's going to go this way. We're going to be aggressive with it. No different than all season moves. They're going to be aggressive in a way to where you may see things that may be deemed to us as unusual, but to him it's like, and you heard his presser after the 49ers loss, he basically said, we're going to go further than where we did this year. And he's talking about going to the Super Bowl. He's going to he can. He has that fighting mentality like Jimmy Johnson had here for the Cowboys. How Jimmy Johnson was just a trick of the trades. Back then, and I'm bringing this up real quick. He traded Herschel Walker. I remember the feeling I had back then, like, why would he trade the best player on this team?
Right.
You saw what he got back in return, and what he got back in return was based on roster upgrade for them to be competitive. And not only that, start going to the playoffs. Not only in the playoffs, they were consistent with going to the Super Bowl. But everybody looked at him crazy, like, what? Why are you trading Herschel Walker? That's the best player on your team. He was being aggressive. He made some moves that made us think, like, okay, what is he doing here? But he was a rookie head coach. He was young, coming from the University of Miami. Dan Campbell had not been head coach for even 3 seasons yet. He's being aggressive. So
now, let me ask you this question: Can Dan Campbell, if Ben Johnson get a job somewhere else, do you think he can do it without Ben Johnson? And that's saying a lot.
Ooh, that's a good one, because Ben Johnson was up for a head coaching opportunity. I felt like Ben Johnson would have gotten on the NFL team that was looking for a head coach. Can Dan Campbell operate effectively offensively without Ben Johnson? Man, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
I don't think, Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Oof. I'm not sure.
Got some talent.
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't think Ben Johnson has been really valuable in terms of the offensive play calling for the Detroit Lions to the point where they were effective. He knew how to use Montgomery and Gibbs. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. Hey Max, how do you convince somebody like Ben Johnson? I mean, obviously, you don't want to hinder somebody's career, right? You don't want to stop them from progressing if they want to get a head coaching job. But what would you say to Ben Johnson that you think that convince him to stay?
Let's get a ring. The only thing that will convince him to stay is, hey, I promise you we will get a ring. That would be the only reason I would stay. If someone promised me, hey, we're going to get a Super Bowl ring together, I'm staying. I want that guaranteed ring.
Yeah. So this next conversation is going to probably take us. We should be probably finishing a little early, but it's going to take us to the rest of the show. And I just kind of want to get us out there. Before I go, I want to kind of set up this way. And my opinion is simply this: in this world, people, we seem like there's a debate about what's right and what's wrong. That's always a debate. And I always say that you will never solve any issue. You never really get down to any type of resolution on anything if you're constantly looking at right and what's wrong. What really solves things, what really get things popping or getting things resolved is the truth. And the truth is rooted in context, what people mean, the everything that's involved in what you're saying. But a lot of times it's right, wrong. People fight to be right because it means I'm right, you're wrong. And it's just never ongoing thing. It's just an ongoing thing, right? That's the setup. I believe before we even give an opinion about something, think hardly about the context in which you're speaking of before you just give an opinion. But you do what you will. That's just my own 2 cents. With that being said, lift every voice and sing. Being sung by Andra Day at the Super Bowl weirdly has caught a lot of negative attention from a lot of different sources. And there's been a lot of back and forth. Obviously, black folks say it's okay. White folks say it's not. There are some black folks say that it does nothing for us to have a separate national anthem. Lou, is it really that serious?
That's simple. The answer is no, it's not that serious. And I think what elevates this particular situation is the life of social media. I guarantee you that if this had happened in the 90s, in the era that we came up in when we went to high school together, this would not have been the issue. But back then, we really didn't have the internet. If anything, everything was rotary.
Right.
But I don't think Google was even around.
No.
It came right after 2000. But I think, and I talked about this with somebody, that the life of social media as it relates to the internet it's a platform. It's a platform. But what makes it where it's at today is us.
Right.
We take our feelings and as it relates to that topic, I feel like we can get into our own feelings. You know, if this was a debate back in the 90s, we probably been in our own feelings then, but we didn't have a segue to outsource our feelings for other people to see called social media. Now that we have social media, they're making a big deal out of this. So no, it shouldn't even gotten to this realm, but because of I call it the life of social media. Yeah, that's why where we're at with this today. Social media, again, it's a platform, but it's what we make out of it. And what we make out of it depends on if it has a negative effect to it or a positive effect to it. Some people had an issue with it. I don't know why. Some people didn't. I don't have an issue with it. I wouldn't have had an issue with it in 90, 91, 92, 95, 96, 97. But I think as we grow into this day and age of this millennium, the people that are how can I say this? The people that wasn't around in our day that's here now, they have a different sense of how they think and how they express themselves different than the way we do on this camera. So I think it's the life of social media. That's what we made out of it. Now we can see people's feelings. People get in their feelings. They go on social
Right.
media, and it blows up.
Right.
And that's why this is why we are where we're at today with that.
Right. And it's crazy because, that's the reason why I made my statement, because we're looking at context. Max, when you hear the Star Spangled Banner, right, being played, as well as God Bless America, as well as America the Beautiful, you hear, because the one thing we kept hearing is there should only be one national anthem, right? But even if you don't sing the Black national anthem, quote unquote, you still get Star Spangled Banner, America the Beautiful, and God Bless America. What do you say about that, Max?
All I can say is you're respecting the national anthem. Respect everyone else's choice of whether they want to listen to another anthem or not. It's basically at this point, if you don't want to hear an anthem, you're probably just at this point you might as well say, I just came here to watch the game. I didn't come here for any of this. Because honestly, it shouldn't bother anyone. It
Right.
only takes what 2 to 3 minutes. It's that time should not matter. Only thing plus is more of a it educates the younger generation that's barely coming up, that's growing up in the school and stuff. Like, hey, this is unique. We got different options. We got different
Mhm.
things we can do.
Yeah.
You're you're basically teaching young kids in schools. This is all about unity and respecting other cultures and all coming in together at one. And this is pretty much what it is. It's all about connecting one another on a different level. And I guess people don't want peace among all different races and colors
Right.
because just because they put black in the front of it, the anthem, people are upset. Or they put something else in front of it. Say we had a Mexican anthem, people would get upset. Why? Just because they had the word Mexican in front of it. This shouldn't bother people. It's just some people just take it too hard and be like, I don't want my, I just don't want to be around colors.
Right.
That's pretty much what it is to me. Just people being racist. You can just respectfully sit there and hear it.
Yeah. I want to educate those out here listening right now. And it's not, I mean, there are some Black folks who take issue with the Star Spangled Banner, obviously, because the way they feel as how America has treated us, right? But not all of us, right? Feel that way, but most of us do. Um, but earlier when I talked about right versus wrong, but it's the context. I think it's the second phrase or refrain of the Star Spangled Banner. There's a line that says, "There's no refuge for the hireling and slave from the flight of terror and the gloom of the grave." That's the part that Black folks have taken issue with, to say this is our national anthem because of the dark history of America. When you look at Lift Every Voice and Sing, it didn't say lift every Black voice. It said lift every voice. That song, if you read it and listen to every phrase, every verse, it has an all-inclusive nature to it. Now, we're not suggesting that we change it and make it the national anthem. What we're saying is that if you want us in this country as Black folks to feel welcome, at least we have a version of an anthem that will make us feel welcome in this country. But when you start looking at there's no refuge for the hireling and slave, if you don't know what that is, Black folks were slaves. Black folks were slaves in this country. And after being slaves, we were hirelings for lesser value, you know? And he said there's no refuge of hiring a slave from the flight of terror or the gloom of the grave, which means we don't care, you know. And that just may have been our interpretation. We don't know what the writer intent when he wrote that, but we know how we took it. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel good, and it's not something that we subscribe to as Black Americans in this country. But lift every voice and sing is something that we can feel some type of get some type of hope from, not to isolate ourselves and not to separate ourselves. Another note that I've heard about lift every voice and sing, I have not heard a lot of white people use this word like I'd heard this yesterday and today, and the word was segregation, as though Black folks invented segregation. Oh, this is segregation. This is segregation. We got to realize, white folks, you attach the word to Black to everything, not us. Because remember, it was whites only, Blacks only. A Black restroom, a white restroom, a Black church, a white church. These are things that you guys tapped on, gave these titles to us in these categories, right? Mike Tomlin is not a coach in your eyes. He's a Black coach. President Obama is not a president. He's a black president. And I can go on and on and on. These are not things we clarify ourselves. Now, we chose to find hope in it. We chose to find some type of joy in it, saying a type of honor in it by those names you're giving us. But segregation was your thing. I'm just going to throw it out there. And I don't know if I offended anybody. We can get into the conversation later. But that's where we are in this country. But I'm like Lewis and I'm like Max. It's not that serious, folks. I think this is like Lewis said, because we're in the days of social media, everybody is all about themselves and they want to use their platform to get their opinion out. And we don't even want to get on the whole Jesus, he gets us campaign, right? Everybody was upset about that. It's like, listen, that's a whole, because everybody's opinion, all I got to say this about that is like, you don't have to always have a negative interpretation, especially when you have the name Jesus attached to it. Don't always assume the negative, right? There's a positive interpretation of that. It's not like the first time we've seen that, right? We've seen that ad a couple of times, but everybody wants to be whatever. But yo, with that being said, man, Max, you got any final words for the Fairweather Fan podcast?
Well, I had a question for y'all real quick.
Well, then throw it out there. We got time, brother.
All right. What do y'all think about the 49ers saying that they did not know about the news overtime rule in the playoffs?
We're going to get to that at the top of the hour. on Faith Talk Radio.
Okay, cool.
Hey, no, that is a good one, but we're going to say that for those who are watching, please, Max, you're going to be watching, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna dive into that on the next hour at Faith Talk Radio. I do not.
All right, cool.
That's gonna be a great conversation right there. Lou, you got any final words?
Yeah, Kyle. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's the 49ers fullback, and just today he recanted on his statement that he didn't know anything about it the day before, and I'm up here like, okay, where the change of heart come from all of a sudden in 24 hours. But that's one of the topics I'm going to talk about from Faith Talk Sports Radio in terms of the fact that your head coach knew about the OT rules, but none of his players. That just didn't seem right to me. Why would Coach Shanahan know about it? And he said that played into his role in deciding that he wanted the ball first because he wanted the ball third, meaning that, okay, if I score a touchdown, Kansas City get a chance with the ball. If they score a touchdown, now the next team that scores will win the game. So I got the ball third. Right. That was his logic behind that. But Coach Shanahan got flabbergasted. He got drilled for taking the ball first instead of giving it to Mahomes, which I didn't blame him for doing it, because you give any motivation or any train going for Mahomes, it's lights out. It's over. So
right. Yeah,
the fact that multiple 49ers didn't know anything about the new OT rules, where it's different in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, to whereas Coach Shanahan knew about it, it's just a disconnect somewhere about it. It didn't look right. That's just my thoughts. Right. But we'll talk about it in within the next hour.
Yeah. Yo, that's all I have for the Fairweather Fan channel, man. Y'all, please listen. I was trying to make a promotional video about the GOAT conversation we're going to have, and I was in the midst of doing that prior to this show, but I will definitely get it uploaded either tonight or tomorrow, because I want to get more people involved in this conversation when I want to do it, but I need to give a little bit more notice. So I'm going to send the promotional video out either today or tomorrow. And then I'm just going to start trolling folks, man. Hey, y'all, we need to get in this conversation. So not next week. Actually, I can't do it next week because next week I have a prior engagement. But the week after that, we will start. What day is that? That is so we're looking at February 27th, Tuesday, February 27th. Wait a minute. I think I got no. Can I do Tuesday? Yeah. Tuesday, February 27th. Tuesday, February 27th, I will be doing the GOAT conversation. I'm gonna send it from, so that's what's gonna start. So anybody who wants to join, those who are watching, please, it's NBA GOAT conversation. We're starting with, I'll give you you'll see the promotion video on how we're going to get it. But please join us for that conversation. It's going down February 20th. It's a five-week series. So that we're going to take us into that should take us into the middle of March Madness, and then obviously going into the final weeks of the NBA season, where now this is it. It's all basketball from here on out, baby. Leos, thank you for watching. What you mean, no? Baseball is starting, right? But we're not going to really dive into baseball until the summertime, Max. Okay, Byron Nelson's coming up in May. Golf is here. We're going to talk a little bit about golf. You know what I'm saying? I may show y'all some footage of me out there trying to play some golf, man. It's fun sport, yo. But it's your boy EC22 of the Fat Weather Fan channel, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are out. For those who are watching, tune in to Faith Talk Radio. We'll be going on at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock. It's your boy EC22. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Professor. And we are out.